All right, here we are again, ladies and gents. It is Monday, the 26th of July, 2021. SPY, another 0.25% update today, touching all-time highs once again. Hashtag can't stop, won't stop. Some market internals on the day today. NASDAQ, total dollar volume of 173 billion as of right now. It is 4:51 Eastern time. NYSE, $215 billion volume, and OTC markets, 3.3 billion total dollar volume today across the OTC markets. Great to see that. That's over $1 billion extra dollar volume that we've seen the past few days, last week. So we may start seeing some more OTC runners come out and about. Only had one day trade today for the short side, which I took on ABEO. Had some other great long opportunities as well too, but just took a smaller size on pretty much all of them just because I don't really have any hard data on them. But of course we're seeing a lot more movement now and kind of coming out of the summer months, and we're seeing some more crazy movers. So these wins for me today, I think, are going to inspire me or encourage me to just take bigger sizes and step up my position sizes with each new trade and the confidence that comes from being able to trade those. So got up fairly early this morning. I wasn't too tired, wasn't too drug out. I was pretty with it, pretty emotionally stable, ready to hit the day. Started off with XBIO. Of course, this former runner, this former kind of cap and fail. You can see these previous daily wicks, and then we just had this recent one on Friday. Pretty much sold off into the close into the weekend on that trading day, and then was holding lower, VWAP opening lower here in this pre-market, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere we just started spiking pretty hard. A little bit of volume started coming in, and my trade plan entirely on this one was screw it. It's spiking. It's a former runner. We're buying it. The fundamentals on this one, again, just for reference, 7.8 million float, 0.4% reported short interest on that float. And so when I was buying this was 10 shares for that entry, this whole trade. I did not even see that there was any news on it. The most recent one put out was from May 12th from their earnings. And then at 7:01, it finally came out that they have a $12.5 million private placement offering and warrants priced at a premium to the market. So going through this, they sold with a single healthcare-focused institutional investor for the purchase of 4.6 million shares at a purchase price of $2.7 per share. And then also warrants 4.6 million shares with an exercise price of $3.3 per share. So I did not even see that at the time of the spiking, but just kind of saw that it was moving, and hey, it's a former runner, it's pre-market, can do some crazy things. Why not take a 10 share? Why would I not take a 10 share position on that? And oh my gosh, I did not expect this thing to just rocket ship into space. I could have maybe seen like a 3.5 at a max kind of craziness. Like, oh wow, it spiked pretty hard. And then maybe just did some of this, whatever this pre-market was, and then played around exactly like it did this market open. But to 4.6, this thing just continued to run and run and run. And it wasn't like I tried to locate shorts just for reference to see how expensive the shorts were, and it wasn't crazy outrageous shorts either. So hard for me to believe that there was a lot of just retail shorts in this that were getting squeezed or trying to pick tops. But that certainly could have been the case in the pre-market. Who knows? But in this one totally as well too, I so would have been taking profits off of the table at especially like 3.3, maybe at like $3 the whole round level. My first entry is like 2.72 something. So $3 the whole round level would have been over 10%, where I would have taken some off had I had a bigger position size. And looking back on this, I think it was just so much more freeing to have such a small position size, to use this trade and this chart as an experiment. And I kind of got lucky on my sell here, like, okay, this thing is up too much. There is a point where, okay, this is up too much. And so I was able to liquidate, take some off 4.3, I think I got into that strength as it was continuing to blow past me. But that was pretty much right around the top, and just continue to sell off hard. And you could call it looks like a morning dump a little bit. But of course, I would not get anywhere near this thing as a short. But you could use that VWAP crack as a signal and pulled in some 10% beyond 10% profits there for a trade to the short side on that one. Same thing again today that, okay, it's looking pretty strong. We're getting these, you can see these bottom wicked red candles here that if it's trying to hit a new low, it's just getting immediately bought back up. And he's putting in these higher lows continually, and it's rising above VWAP. I mean, good volume today too, 398 million total dollar volume on the day. It was the same thing as Friday of, okay, we're going to get a VWAP hold type of squeezer. These types of trades are going to come back into play again. And then it just rejected once again. The final nail in the coffin was around this 12 o'clock, 12, 13, 14 time frame that just said, nope, we're fading the rest of the day, we're done. Just kind of crazy to see. So it must be, you know, we're kind of labeling this ticker having that characteristic that it'll look great as a VWAP hold, and you're thinking, oh, maybe today's the day, but it's proven 100% of the time now in these past 2 days that it does not want to continue on higher for the rest of the afternoon into the close. So still amazing, incredible trade on this one. I took off half at that first exit, and then stupid me, I played this. I always get in this situation when I take small sizes with these longs, and I will just take the stupid, most degenerate entry, whether that's like beyond, I'm like chasing the breakout, or whatever stupid entry you want to call it. And then I'm trying to like ease it back and convince myself I'm being a smart trader when I try to exit smart. And this was just I totally got played as a long would have in these first 2 minute candles of the trading day. And I think I literally got bottom ticks. I was just looking for this $3 level crack, just kind of set the stop there that, okay, if we break that point, especially after having bounced here, how far we are from VWAP, then I think the trade's over at that point. Especially once we having that level be tested in the pre-market, okay, the trade's over at that point if we break that. So we get to like 301 on the bid, we start just printing, and I think we actually cracked 301. And I was like, okay, Sal, I'm just going to get out. I'm going to practice having a bigger position size and knowing that I would have to get out. I would have to push that button much sooner in order to get the actual 3 level, to not have to take on any slippage, because that 3, of course, that whole dollar level of 3 is going to snap quick with a lot of other people based around that point as well. But then 3 just bought back up again and continued to spike back above VWAP. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. I just got played perfectly. I mean, I was selling to the people who were looking for the dip buy opportunity. That's just great opportunity and learning lesson on that one. Still making huge, over 10% on it, of course, from my position. But that was just another great opportunity to practice and understand the psychological games that are being played and how many other different perspectives are being put on these types of charts that you have to factor in to your position, to everybody else's position, why your position is better, why your perspective on it trumps every single other perspective. So just great opportunity this one. And yeah, if I would have held this, probably would have held through this dump back under VWAP. Maybe I would have cut if it was truly coming that hard back under. I certainly think I would have cut at this crack of VWAP here around the 10 o'clock, 10:16 time frame. But interesting chart on that one today. Again, another one to add to the memory book for this specific ticker and just for these types of setups in the future as well. So that was the first trade on the day, and then my big position sized short was on ABEO. Fundamentals on this one. They had news catalyst of new MRI data showing increased brain volume in young patients with Sanfilippo syndrome after their treatment with some specific therapy. Float of 88 million. Reported short interest of 4.6%. It is a American biotech. Checks pretty much all the boxes. We like the big flow. We like it's an American biotech. Looking at the daily, good amount of overhead with volume here. A little bit further of a daily, same thing. Yeah, way more overhead to try and liquidate into this thing. So tempted a few times on this one as we were getting some red candles. printing. We're getting some tests below VWAP, especially around this time frame. Getting another dunk a little bit under here at VWAP, but I felt I was very patient and very well learned from the past mistakes of jumping in too early on these. And I think the key indicator for me on this one was having a red candle, having us end low right near VWAP, and then open lower under VWAP, which is so hard to tell in that specific minute that you're in. But just that big sell-off here, it was a new high day test, fail, and now we're selling and pushing lower, and it would have had to come up with so much more strength in order to push back above that high of day in order for me to have been stopped out of this trade, which I just factored into the trade as well and was comfortable in my position. Even as I got bottom ticked here again, we started kind of buying up a little bit, but then ultimately sold off, and we got to my 10% profit target very soon on. Bottom tick here on this green candle at 156, which was a perfect 10% from 173 must have been my entry of 1,000 shares. God, what do I remember? Yep, 1,000 shares. So took off 500 here at perfect exit of 156, perfect 10% of 156. Again, another example of putting in your limit order pretty much immediately after the trend is confirmed, because then your order gets put on the top of the order stack and you can get filled so much quicker. As soon as we get to the bid drops off of the cent above my price that I want, I'm going to be close to one of the first ones getting filled on that, which is exactly what I want, because they can do things like this and just kind of bounce and flirt around the rest of the pre-market potentially before they eventually dump. And that's just kind of emotional stress that you don't need to take on in that situation. So with 500 shares remaining, set in my eyes still for this pattern, once we are able to get out of half of the position and lock in profits at 10%, for me, in my opinion, still on this trade, the risk level then drops to just below entry. Still, that I'm still in the mindset of, okay, if this is a winning trade, let's not flirt around with continuing this wide risk level. If it's going to break here, then this just trade becomes pretty pointless. And this is really a wasted day trade when profits were there to be locked in at, even though this is really 5% at the end of the trade because it was only half of the position size. If this thing had taken off and gone higher and tested this risk level, and just, even if it bounced around and then did end up dropping the rest of the day, whatever, I still would have been far more comfortable, of course, having taken off the trade entirely, even especially to having just taken off half or adjusting that risk level to just below entry, in a sense, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But of course, I think we're getting, or a lot of other people are using this exact metric as a key indicator. And a lot of other people are getting played at the same point. So I got stopped out again by like literal cents, pretty much top wicked on this one candle, just because, I didn't even have a stop order in. I don't set a stop orders for that exit. I just continue to watch the level 2 hard to see, okay, how are we moving? How is it stacking up? Are we just going to do this and then continue to fade the rest of the day, which obviously didn't see that one. But just stupid and frustrating to see that literally like a few cents difference, or even an entry from me. If I was filled at like 177, would have had my order at 176, and I would have still been in this trade and made, a 12%, 15% trade, 2 times the percentage that I made on this one at the end of the day, having to cut there. But that's just how it goes, and maybe that's something I need to factor in as well too. Okay, say your entry truly was, take your entry from the candle that you're in and look at specifically the VWAP point during that candle. So for this example, maybe 178. So okay, I'll be willing to take 177, or if there's a whole round number around that point of, okay, if 1.8 cracks, then the trade is definitely over, and I'll be willing to take a little bit of slippage from my entry there on those half positions that I have left. but just stupid frustrating. And it's whatever. It's still great 5% trade, $80, $83 I made on that one. Not the end of the world, but still continuing to fine tune, refine, and get as close as we can to perfection on this type of setup. So that was that one. We had some great other morning dump opportunities. I had no day trades left, so pretty much at this point, after I took off my position here, like 4:40 Mountain Time here in Arizona, I just went back to sleep until market open. A few other morning dumps that came up on the screener that I didn't see because I was sleeping. IKT, pulled the fundamentals on this one. News catalyst was they received FDA clearance to begin evaluation in Parkinson's patients. May or may not have gotten in this one because of that buzzword of Parkinson's. It's an American biotech. Check float of 8 million. A little bit low of a float. Reported short interest of 3%. So not the most A+. Decent overhead. Great volume today as well too for the sell-off. And yeah, beyond 10% from that. A little bit choppy, of course, but you never would have gotten stopped out at any point during getting any entry here because of the non-high of day crack. Selling at any point during pre-market, during market hours would have been an awesome trade. Next one was AZRX. This was a sub-dollar. News catalyst was they advanced a phase 2 trial, COVID news as well too, for potential treatment and also related GI infections, whatever. Other fundamentals, float of 77 million, reported short interest of 2%. Sub-dollar, like I said, so I would have had to pay some massive fees through Trade Zero anyway to try and gotten this short on this one. Maybe I would have played this on this red candle. I can't really tell you. I'm still kind of at the point here, coming from ABEO of like, it's got to be almost 2 candles at this point. But then you're going to be forced to be in a situation like here where you're going to have to take some massive slippage. And the trade's going to have to give you beyond 20% to even realize the same position that you would have having traded from the initial crack of VWAP if you're able to get filled within that little range. If that makes any sense. But I mean, the market's heating up too, so we could see some more just huge squeezers, and that really just becomes no issue that we're just getting huge percentage movers. This one close to 100% from 101 from 5.7. But yeah, just tough to call. Like in this candle here, of would I have gotten an entry? I wouldn't have gotten stopped out having taken an entry there. But it really, I want to be with the trend immediately. I want to be right away, of course, just like everybody else. I want to always be in the money. I want to be removing the emotions from the trade. And I just want to be so focused in the mindset of how and when and where to size in, size out through all of this. So, and I feel like as I continue to grow, the entry really isn't going to affect any of that, right? As I grow in my trader skills and my understanding of the trade itself, and even placing myself in the situation again, like I talked about with ABEO of, okay, maybe trade the trade as if you were in this type of position, because that's the pattern that we're continuing to trade. And yes, because you just got a worse entry, you may have to take a little more of a loss if you get stopped out. But I think that's just part of trading. That's just part of the cycle that we're seeing. But like I said too, if the market's going to heat up and continue to push huge squeezers more and more, it's really not going to be an issue if we're getting these all-day fades of fine-tuning or finicking, if that's a word, your position on when you get in and get out. Even really at any of these points on these 2 red candles, you're still looking at beyond 10% profit opportunity to cover for the rest of the day. So there were those 2. An OTC runner that we're looking for a dip buy on, FERN, had a nice little decent run. Chris pointed this one out to me. I didn't even see it. Would have liked to have seen it a little more parabolic, just so we can get more panic, and because the quicker it goes in my mind, the the quicker that a ticker moves in my mind, the dumber the people on the long side become. I feel like that's an easy trend. So, or the more emotional people can get about it as well too, is a better way to put it. So this one just had a nice consistent run up, and it wasn't like a huge panic or sell off today. This wasn't even, that was 10%, 20% from where it was opening, but it's just not enough. I was a little bit tempted, like seeing 206. This first initial dip was happening, had a little bit of volume coming in, and then this green candle had that huge, you can see on the bottom here, this huge standalone volume candle that really kind of indicates the dip by normally, especially good distance from VWAP, decent. But it just wasn't in the books today, and it was just kind of choppy, and that wasn't it today. So, but still watching, of course, getting the practice, getting the reps in. SGRP was my last long. This one, I come in with the hot trading plan of low float, it's up, buy it. Like Warren Buffett and Bill Ackman still have yet to learn this incredibly valuable trading plan and tick that you see green and you just buy it and it goes up. That's how the stock market works. You do that with the SPY and you do that with the SGRP today in the morning. So literally, I bought this one again. I don't see any news. It's an American industrial company, provides merchandising and marketing services worldwide. Float of 7.8 million, reported short interest of 0.5%. Don't see any news. It was up on the day. A little bit of weirdness in the after hours from yesterday. So I was like, screw it, I'll buy 10 shares again. Same theory with XBIO. But watch this more for the breakout point. If I wanted to call myself so smart, yeah, maybe I coulda, shoulda, woulda bought closer to the $2 level. But to tell that the trade was really on, I was waiting for this breakout of the high of day. And man, did it freaking break out. That was exactly what you want to see out of this. Just immediately moving away from your price and continuing to spike and squeeze shorts. And then we get this little bit of sell-off here. Or not sell-off, but just consolidation and just indecision from these wicky candles. And then just more continuation. I was watching this on the tick chart the whole time. Trading this, looking for any volume. We were getting some decent trades, over like 1,000 trades a minute in this first initial spike, and ended the day 318,000 trades in total today. Just ludicrous. On no news on this ticker. Let's look at the daily here quick too. Just on a standalone parabolic day. Just pretty insane. This thing's done it a little bit in the past, but nowhere near the volume it had today. So pretty insane. So looking at the tick chart again. Could have just put that button, but whatever. Just continued to, again, the same thing with XBIO. With this smaller position size, I just felt so free and open to let the trade breathe and just like try to max it out as much as you can. And I wasn't looking to sell the top. I was just looking to not cut myself short, which is kind of the same meaning, I think, on both of those phrases. So really all I was doing was just continually adjusting my stop up. You know, I initially started as we're spiking here. I'm just putting my stop above my entry. Okay, I'm in the profit. I'll just, if it comes back down quick, whatever. I'll cut it for a little scalp. Consolidating here. Okay, I'll adjust it a little bit to like 2.5. So adjust it here like 2.49 if we really want to dump back that hard. Pull up even more. Okay, now I'll adjust it to 3. Now if we're getting some peaks around here, maybe like 2.9 or so if we want to come back down there. Holding well, and then we get this kind of triple top action here, and then eventually dumps under VWAP. So, but chopped around a little bit more, then found its way back to new highs after that. But I'm not going to, let's go back to the 1 minute. I'm not going to say that was a bad trade or bad exit. This thing just could have faded like it did here just the rest of the day from this point. So, and you could see a hard red candle here. I think this one halted as well too, which was, yeah. That's everything I was looking for. And when it halted to the upside right here, I was like, heck yeah. Because that's the experience and getting to do that is just what I'm here for. It didn't matter if it was a small position size. That's what I want to be a part of. Being long on a halt to the upside. That's just the dream. Of course, it was a little weird as it was printing a few shares below that closing price of that candle. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then we quickly bought back up, held a new range, and continued on further after that. It's a great experience on that one. And then, yes, that kind of double top I mentioned, triple top, very quick that those rejects were happening. So initially at this one as well too, right here, zoom in. This one just very quick after it was looking good, testing these levels, and then just quick sell off. Rising once again, reclaiming VWAP, new high a day push, getting to these ones here, just quick sell off. And then here, these red candles here, especially quick sell off. Just algos stops getting hit or if it was overhead that was coming in to say, okay, here's our price, just hit it. And those price immediately fell off the table at that point. So interesting to see that one. Could be a characteristic of it in the future. Obviously, that wasn't the end of the trading, or that wasn't the end of the move. But could be a little game you can play with this specific ticker to take in mind for the future. NAOV, this would have been an awesome second green day play. We had a great move yesterday with that nice volume candle. Maybe could have, should have, would have looked at it as a first green day short with how parabolic it was in the after hours, but I wasn't going to touch it. I don't have any data on the big spikers in the after hours. And it was also spiking pretty well with volume in this pre-market today too. So really had this just downtrend the whole pre-market. A little bit more sell-off within the first few minutes of market open, and then huge green candle above VWAP, and then quick reject. Was this a halt? Not even a halt. So that just became another indication of, okay, the trend is down. If this thing is going to reject after that hard of a push, that much volume coming in, look at these candles here, some of the biggest candles on a trading day, that the trend was down. And so looking at number 7 from the chat, he traded this one very well, just following the trend to say, okay, there's just no more buyers left to come in and push this thing up. So the trend is down, just get short. He traded very well. He traded it very well to the downside. Locked in some great profits on that one. Then NURO, recent mover again, looking at the daily. Had this huge parabolic move, and now we're kind of on the downside. So it was looking like we're still waiting for the first green day move. They had news today, which was pretty interesting to see. It was peer-reviewed publication of randomized controlled trial of its wearable neurostimulation technology for treatment of fibromyalgia. Blah, blah, blah. Again, share structure, float of 3 million, reported short interest of 1%. Could have been an awesome first green day, and I think that's what a lot of other people were thinking. But the overhead or the powers that be said, no, not today. It was looking pretty good. I mean, you could have even called this one a bit of a morning dump with how quick this green spike was and then our VWAP crack entry signal, but I certainly would have traded that way or even classify it as such. But there was some pretty wide and pretty spready red candles here. These wicked candles here, they're reaching pretty low. The low on this candle, 2025, which is 10% from 22, I believe, or just a little above. So yeah, if you were around that point, maybe you could have got filled, but just a choppy, emotional mess to try and be a part of this thing until it eventually faded the rest of the day. So still looking for a first green day play on that one in the next few days here. And then Bitcoin moving again today. So NXTD, I traded this one. I just barely pulled it up when it was like around this point, and then saw it was reclaiming VWAP and just got an entry 113 again of 10 shares, playing just super small size on these longs. Looking okay, chopping around again, testing VWAP, and then just ultimately broke VWAP again. And just so choppy, just a mess on this one. Spiking because of Bitcoin, of course, touching 40K. But just ludicrous. I remember playing this one, having a long position as an investor in this one. I think my average still was like 180 something. So I don't know if it starts coming back up again or if Bitcoin just starts going crazy once more and every crypto just begins to skyrocket once again. Maybe I get back on this one, but for right now I'm totally fine, especially just seeing how this one ended up and how much heartbreak it's been trying to intraday trade this ticker. So I think a few other people in the chat as well just got chopped out and messed up once again by this price action. But it's in the crypto sector, so we'll keep watching it if it wants to. If Bitcoin wants to continue running, BTBT, same thing. Very nice move. A little bit of sell-off in the after hours here because I think everybody just wasn't happy, or they don't really want to hold, thinking that Bitcoin's going to go above 40K overnight. Maybe they don't want to play that type of trade. I don't know what Bitcoin's at right now. Take a quick look. Yeah, it looks like Bitcoin's at like 37. Oh yeah, big sell-off after just peaking above 40.5K. So now we're at like 37.6. So that could be another reason why as well too. Of course, the other big movers of the Bitcoin sector, Mara and Riot, decent days, but again, similar sell-off like BTBT had, NCTY, same thing. DYNT, no news. Could call this a morning dumper pretty early in the morning, like at market open, which is very early in the morning. Just not as clean, not as exciting to me just to be in it and watch it tail off, be in the profit immediately. But the percentages were there on that one. We did IKT, AZRX, FERN, and then AHPI. So this one was a recent low float runner once again. Had a little bit of an update today, and I think we had. Did we have some news? No news once again, but low floater still 3.4 million float. Reported short interest of 4%. So I'll keep it on watch for tomorrow as it's spiking here in the after hours and showed a little bit of strength. Not the most volume today, only $20 million volume, 11,000 trades. So, but it certainly could, if it gets more strength coming in, that's going to entice me even more to step into this one to try and play it alongside as well too. So I think market's heating up a little bit. We're getting out of the funk of the summer, and I think we're seeing some more low float squeezers, some small cap rockets like the boys over at Stocks to Trade like to play. So excited to see that the morning dumps are still working out very well within the pre-market hours, especially too. So I'm not shying away from those whatsoever, but excited to start stepping up my position sizes on these listed stocks as well too, to the long side. So we will continue to charge on, and I thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.